right? Even inside, it's the Garden of Eden. There's always a snake inside the thing that's walled in. Always, always, always. Even God himself cannot get rid of the snakes in the garden. And partly what that means is that, you know, the garden is a conceptual system. It's the conceptual system within which people exist. That's Eden is a walled garden. Paradise means walled garden. And it's walled because a walled garden is where people live, because the wall is culture and the garden is nature, and we always live in a structure that's an amalgam of nature and culture. So we set it up so it's paradisal as long as we're unconscious, but we can't manage it because there's always something chaotic that's coming in that we will interact with. That's human beings. You put a snake in the garden, it's the first bloody thing we're going to talk to. And for better or worse, it makes us conscious and awake. It makes us aware of our mortality. It does all sorts of terrible things to us, but it doesn't matter because that's the path that human beings have, what, chosen? Because that's the implication in that story. And it's a very difficult thing to answer, because we certainly choose each other for self-awareness and consciousness and intelligence. And I don't, you know, if you're choosing a mate, there's an arms race in human beings. We're choosing intelligent mates, especially. That's especially the case for women in relationship to men. So that the idea that that's a choice, well, that's partly why it's Eve that makes Adam self-conscious in the Garden of Eden, right? She offers him the apple. She's the one that makes him self-conscious. And I think that's actually accurate, because the evidence from the evolutionary biologists is that female sexual selection was one of the driving factors that differentiated us from chimpanzees. It's a major factor. Chimpanzee females are not selective maters. They go into estrus, they'll mate with anything. What happens is the dominant males chase the subordinate males away, and so they end up leaving more offspring, but it's not a consequence of selection on the part of the females. In human beings, it's completely different. Concealed ovulation and intense selection pressure from women on men. You have twice as many female ancestors as you have male ancestors. And people can never have a hard time working that out arithmetically, but it's not that problematic. You just think on average every woman had one child. Half of men had none and the other half had two. And that's approximately correct if you average across the entire history of human sexuality. So human males in particular are subject to vicious selection pressure on the part of females, and I also think that's partly why nature is represented symbolically as female among human beings, because after all, nature is what selects. There's no better definition of nature than that which selects. So